is the origin of the name Canada?
Some guy named Canada, he landed in Canada and just looked at it, the land and called Canada.
Who was the first Prime Minister of Canada?
First Prime Minister of Canada, that would have been Joe.
What animal is on the Canadian quarter?
I don't see any animals on any quarters. There's no quarters here and there's no animals. A cat? I don't know. There's my cat's
How
here.
many oceans touch Canada?
Oceans can't touch things. They don't have hands. But I'll say 3, just for argument's sake.
How many countries border Canada?
Oh, 5. Mexico, United States, Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico.
How many provinces are in Canada?
5, Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, Wisconsin, and New York. And Illinois.
Can you name the provinces of Canada?
I just did. Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois.
What is the capital city of Canada?
Syracuse.
The national capital.
Syracuse. No, wait. Oshawa.
True or false, Canada is the world's second largest country by land mass.
Canada is nowhere near land mass. It's not by land mass. The land mass is far away. It's not by it.
What is the Canadian $1 coin called?
It's called a 100 penny coin. 100 cents or penny coin.
How many territories in Canada?
Oh man, that's a trick question. There's only one territory in Canada, and it's Canada. Canada's a one big territory. Territories. It's a one territory.
What is the most recent What is the most recent territory in Canada called?
It's a trick question again. It's Canada. It's the only territory in Canada is Canada, whether it be recent or a long time ago.
When was the most recent territory in Canada formed?
1777. They did it the 1 year after the Americans bombed the Confederates.
When was the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms included in the Constitution Act?
It hasn't been included because there's no rights and freedoms until they legalize marijuana. Then there's the final rights and freedoms, so they can officially call it rights and freedoms.
True or false, Superman was created by a Canadian?
Yeah, that's true because there was a guy smoking Thai stick and he thought he was Superman, so he put a cape on and he jumped off a building and died. So that was the first Superman.
Who were the first people to live in Canada? A. Europeans.
No.
B. Americans.
No.
C. Aboriginals.
No
Or
Australians.
D. Norsemen.
Norsemen's, no. It was Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens were the first people in Canada, or Homo sapiens.
What is the name of the elected lower house of Canadian Parliament?
The electric lower house is the place where they keep all the electric equipment in the basement.
What is the leader of Canada called?
Well, he's a sheriff, but he's a Canadian version of a sheriff. He doesn't wear a cowboy hat. He wears one of those Stetsons.
What leaf
Mountie
is
hats.
on the Canadian flag?
There's a big maple leaf on it that fell on it back in 1965, and they just
What
kept it
is
there.
the Canadian national anthem called?
It's called a song that for Canada. It's the Canadian national anthem. It's another trick question.
What is the big prize for the Canadian Football League, the CFL, called?
I think
The something cup.
they drink a big cup of coffee and then they take all their cheerleaders home.
What is the big prize for the National Hockey League called? The something cup.
Well, they drink a really even bigger cup of coffee. They don't have cheerleaders, so they just borrow the football cheerleaders.
What rodent is described by the Canadian Encyclopedia as having had a greater impact on the history and exploration of Canada than any other animal or plant species?
It's a plant species. It's not an animal species. There's no you can't combine the two. It's a maple leaf.
What measurement is used in Canada to measure temperature?
You don't measure it. You use a thermometer. Thermometer tells you what temperature it is, not a measurement.
How many national languages does Canada have?
Oh, hundreds. Have you ever been to Toronto? There's like hundreds of them. There's hundreds of different languages.
What are
Hundreds.
Canada's national languages?
Oh, hundreds of them. Chinese, Japanese, Hindu, Buddhist, Iroquois.
Who was the only Canadian ever to serve as Prime Minister of Great Britain?
That's a trick question. There's no Canadians. Canadians aren't allowed to serve as Prime Minister of Great Britain. Just Arnold Schwarzenegger was the only one that was able to do that. Because he's big and strong.
Which
The
was the
Terminator.
10th province to join Confederation?
Wisconsin, but it's still a state, but it's also a province. It's dual
Who
citizenship.
was the first French-Canadian Prime Minister of Canada?
Oh, my buddy Pierre Carbonneau. Pierre Carbonneau, you guys know Pierre Carbonneau. It's a hockey player, Pierre Carbonneau.
What was the name of the system of safe passages and safe houses that allowed American slaves to escape to freedom in Canada?
Oh, that was the New York State Thruway before cars rode on it. They took them all to Canada, the slaves.
What is Laura Secord famous for?
Oh, that chocolate bark with the almonds in it. Oh, I love that stuff. I get it at Laura's Tea Club.
How many time zones does Canada have?
Oh, so many. I've been zoned out so many times in Canada over the years. I get zoned out all the time. So I'd say 100.
How many national parks are there in Canada?
At least
Under 10?
no,
Between 10 and 50?
no,
Between 50 and 100?
no.
Or over 100?
Well over 100 because I always got zoned out in the park, eh?
What is the name of the highest mountain in Canada?
Mount Royal. You ever been to Montreal? You can see the whole skyline from it.
Thank you very much for taking our
It's a
quiz.
stupid quiz. There's too many trick questions, and some of the questions are just very poorly.
Good night.
Fairly poorly put together and unresearched.